How's it going, everybody? Today we're going over the expression around the clock. Around the clock means all day, all night. And of course, there are many things that we do around the clock. Makes for a very exhausting day, though. So let's start off at the top here. We're going to start off at the top with the past tense. Let's use the verb partied. Partying around the clock is fun, isn't it? So I partied around the clock. Someone says I partied around the clock. I'm thinking, okay, so sometime in the past they partied around the clock. They partied all day, all night. Must have been a very exhausting day. Um, Now you can add an expression of time at the end of this past tense sentence to give the listener kind of an idea of when the speaker partied around the clock. So let's say yesterday. I partied around the clock yesterday. Ah, okay. Yesterday you partied all day, all night. There's other expressions you can use. You can say on Friday, so Friday of the past Friday of that week, you partied all day and all night around the clock. Or last Friday, the Friday last week, you partied all day, all night. So I partied around the clock last Friday. Now we can also use the verbs worked or studied. So I worked around the clock yesterday. I studied around the clock yesterday. Now we're going to move on to had to, have to. Now when we're using had to and have to, the verb that follows what needs to be something very essential, something very important, something very necessary. So we don't want to say I had to party yesterday because partying or to party, it's not really considered something that is it's not considered important. That's a pleasurable activity. That's something that we do just to have fun. So, what are two things that we really have to do? Well, if you're in school, you have to study. And if you're a worker, if you got to make money, you got to work. So these are necessary, essential verbs uh, for us to use. Like to eat, I have to eat, I have to drink. Just think very essential things, very important things. So I can say I had to study around the clock. I had to study around the clock yesterday. So yesterday, if someone says this to me, I know that yesterday, the day before, they had to study. It was very important for them to study. So I had to study around the clock yesterday. I had to study all day, all night yesterday. It was important, it was necessary. Now, if someone says, I have to study around the clock, I have to study around the clock, that can mean in this present moment, like what's happening right now, or that can mean in a short time in the future, a short period into the future. That could be tomorrow. I have to study around the clock tomorrow. So it's important for me to study tomorrow. Now, if it's something continuous or happening right now as we speak, we can add the ing at the end of study. So I'm studying around the clock tomorrow. I'm studying around the clock tomorrow. So I know that you are going to be studying around the clock the next day. If you say I'm studying around the clock and you end it there, I'm just assuming, well, right now he must be studying all day, all night. That's what he must be doing. He or she must be doing. Um, so just remember that, I partied around the clock yesterday. You can use that. I worked around the clock yesterday. Doesn't mean that it was that they were necessary things, but it was just something that you wanted to do at that time. Now, if you're using had to or have to, these serve something that's very essential, very necessary. I have to work around the clock. I had to study around the clock. It was important for me too. Now I'm studying around the clock. I'm working around the clock. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's important to do this, but it is it's not important to do it. You could be doing something else, but it is important in this moment. It's something that you feel you need to get done. So again, around the clock, it's something that you're going to do all day. So I partied around the clock. I had to work around the clock. I have to study around the clock. Um, so it's just something you're going to be doing all day or around the clock. Um, that is the lesson for today. So thank you very much for listening, and take a look at your conversation flow chart, and you can start making sentences with around the clock. Thank you.